As always, there is articles related to Cynthia Abcug in the description. My past video is on the YouTube channel in the description on this shit. Be sure to go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that. Once that gets a bit more of a following, I'll start streaming these to Facebook and YouTube. There's also a link to donate, support these lives. Anybody that does that, it's always appreciated. That's in the description. And then also, if I remember correctly, there is a link to QAnon article. So this is actually, and this is why I'm staying on top of this Cynthia thing. This case really is important because QAnon in May of last year, the FBI determined that they were possible domestic terrorists. So with that being, this Cynthia Abcug that started getting tied in with like Field McConnell, Kirk Pendergrass, what is it, Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, which is completely imaginary, and now they've been kicked out. That's a whole nother area as we start getting more into E-Claws and all of those assholes. But this arrest, which now actually Cynthia's arrest is getting a lot of attention. Like it's on Daily Beast, it's on a whole bunch of outlets now, because this is the first arrest of some sort of conspiracy since QAnon was dubbed possible domestic terrorists by the FBI. So this is actually a super important case. It's a lot more important than just a crazy CPS mom went and tried to kidnap her kid, because she actually didn't even get to try. She's charged with conspiracy to kidnap. A lot of people have been questioning what she's charged with. She's charged with, I believe it's second-degree conspiracy to commit kidnapping. So a lot of people have been saying like, you know, she didn't even do anything. Well, yes, she did. Her daughter actually came forward and said that she was planning this. She did have a gun. There were strange men coming or staying with them that were armed security guards, one of which is believed to be Ryan Wilson. The Ryan named in the arrest warrant affidavit, which is in, I believe, the first article that I posted in the description. Ryan Wilson is tied up with Field McConnell. I believe he might even be in this video we're about to watch. He was actually staying out there with them. He's named in the arrest affidavit. She was arrested in Kalispell, Montana, and it was actually with 2 Kalispell police officers and an agent of the FBI. So all around it was pretty serious. That arrest was for a warrant in Douglas County. It was actually done by, I believe, Parker Police Department for the conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Now the full plan was, according to the daughter, that Cynthia had gone very deep into QAnon and different conspiracies, and that started spiraling out of control a bit. She wasn't leaving the house at all. The only time she did leave was to go to these QAnon meetings. So her daughter really said things were spiraling pretty quick, and then they started making this plan to go kidnap her son back from the foster family, and they did have weapons to do this. There was at least 1 gun on her. This Ryan Wilson that was there, he was armed. There was, I believe, 2 other armed men staying at the house before that the daughter didn't know. So this, all around, these are pretty serious charges. It's not like what's his name, James White from Northwest Liberty News makes it sound like, where she's in there converting meth heads and converting guards to believe her. This is a really serious case, not only because of the conspiracy to kidnap, but again, the first case that's actually trying to tie the QAnon group since the FBI did declare them possible domestic terrorists. So this is actually going to be interesting to see how it plays out in court. So that is definitely one of the reasons that we're staying on this. But another thing, again, is this video. I did want to make sure that this video was out there. And so what we're going to do, just because they, like Field McConnell's people were going and reporting this, I imagine some of Cynthia's people were going and reporting this, and making sure that it came down, because she does sound a little bit crazy in there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and play this up in the corner, so that way any of you Field fans, any of the Cynthia supporters, once this goes on YouTube and all that, I don't think you're going to be able to report this and get it taken down. So sorry about the luck there. So we're basically going to run through this video though, and then like I said, I'm going to get back to this Parchman, Mississippi stuff, but let's go ahead and do this real quick.
As long as she promises me she'll be Agent Boozy. Okay, it looks like maybe Sphincter Boy's mother is involved in another matter, so I'll give her 3 more.
Now, just an FYI too, Cynthia claimed that her son was being molested by the step family. That's why Field calls Cynthia's, or calls her son Sphincter Boy. That kind of gives you an idea where Field McConnell's head is at already. People, for some reason, actually believe this guy talks to the president. He's told people that he talks directly to President Trump. He's built up a very large and dangerous audience, which again is crazy. Another reason why we're staying on top of this. I believe his YouTube has somewhere around 60,000 subscribers off the top of my head. He's built up a nice little group of people. It's really quite insane. But yeah, he actually claims that he speaks directly to President Trump. And yeah, I mean, this is just a bit of where Field McConnell's head is. Field is actually in jail at the moment. He's teamed up with Timothy Homeseth, who actually started this whole Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, which, again, the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force doesn't actually exist. Like, anybody that hasn't watched a live before this or anything, and just in general, this is really hard to explain and not sound like a psychopath. So please bear with me. I'm doing the best that I can. Yeah, so Timothy Homeseth, he too talks with Trump. They claim that they're part of this Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. There is no Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. For a while, they claimed that Kirk Pendergrass and Chris Hallett and E-Claus were part of it as well. Just recently, they denounced them for leaving Field McConnell in jail because at the same time, Timothy Homeseth, which is basically the originator, him and Field McConnell are the originators of this supposed Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. Basically, what happened there was a long time ago, I believe it's Haley Cummings. She was kidnapped. This little girl was kidnapped. Timothy Homeseth got in his head that she was kidnapped by this attorney in Florida, Kim Picasio, and he spent like the last decade harassing this woman. So one of the court documents that I posted on the last live, if you go back through this page, actually shows that Kim filed something like 320 violations of his injunction against him in a year. So Timothy's nuts. He believes that Kim did this, and then Field started joining in. Timothy's actually on the run right now because Kirk Pendergrass told him not to go to court for charges related to harassing this attorney that he claims kidnapped this kid. I mean, man, this shit's, it's fucking crazy. Listening to myself try and explain this to you guys rationally sounds fucking crazy. So again, just bear with me. Yeah, so Timothy got charges for still harassing this woman, this attorney, Kim Picasio, and he ended up missing court by what is said. I believe Kirk's actually denied it, but Kirk Pendergrass allegedly told him not to go to court. They were there auditing his court case, which again, Chris Hallett and Kirk Pendergrass aren't auditing anything. They have no government power. That's another group I don't understand why people are believing. So Timothy's on the run right now, and Field is actually in jail. Remind you, the guy that claims that he talks to Trump and is working for Trump is currently in jail because he started harassing this Florida attorney with Timothy Homeseth. And yeah, I think that's about as much of a basic summary that I can give. Again, this shit's fucking crazy. So it's going to take a series of these videos and articles and shit to try and be able to place it together, because you can't make this up, and you can't explain this in an hour. You can't do it. It's just too crazy. So there we go with that. And again, with Sphincter Boy, that's what he's talking about there. He's making a reference to Cynthia's son that she claims was molested in foster care. And sound on this, unfortunately, it's just going to be a little quiet. I don't really have an option there, so you guys are just going to have to turn up your volume. The sound just isn't all that great with this video.
More minutes. And then we'll end this. I see that the man who I referred to as, here is my info should you need it. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, and that's from the gentleman in Alabama who I referred to as BS, although he's not BS. In fact, his wife is Hotel Sierra.
So I don't know if we really even
Notice
play
as
this
soon as I
part.
start dancing, they hang up. That's because they're so loud.
So like right now, Cynthia's trying to call in, and other people are calling. Field thinks that it's this attorney from Florida messing with him. He like won't answer the phone. I don't know if somebody else was calling at the same time, because he like shows his phone and shows it's anonymous. He actually says her number at one point, and so I don't know. But this part definitely isn't as important. We'll try and just get it to Cynthia.
Live in their mother's basement. Claire, sorry I hung up on you. I thought you were Kim Paglosi-Osi or whoever she is. Go ahead, we can hear you.
I thought that because my area code is 954, and I'm like, they're thinking well, she was bothering me too.
Oh, really?
I've never met her. Yeah, she started bothering me, I don't know, a month ago, and I had to block her on
Thank you very much, Linda. It's appreciated.
She started messaging somebody that I was in a Church of Satan. I've never met this woman, and I'm like, that's interesting. This is the same person that was bothering Timothy. I don't know who this is.
Okay, so right off the bat, Cynthia Abcug is claiming that this attorney from Florida, who, again, remind you, Timothy Homeseth just picked at what appears to be damn near random. She worked the case, but for some reason, they claim that she actually kidnapped this little girl, and she's tied to this child trafficking ring in Ukraine. So right off the bat, Cynthia Abcug, that a lot of people are saying is this innocent, stable, great mother, great loving mother, gets on here and starts talking about satanic stuff, and that this attorney that's had, I would have to imagine, has no clue who Cynthia Abcug is. I really doubt this attorney in Florida was targeting Cynthia Abcug, but right off the bat, she's claiming that that's what's going on.
Person, like, why would she start harassing me? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I know why she's harassing you. Because anybody who is related to me or Timothy Charles Homeseth, these weak-minded people who are serving Satan, they try, if they can't get my attention, they try to get the attention of a man in New Jersey or yourself in Colorado. But
yeah, well, I think she, remember that doctor in Broward somehow. That is, I've got a bunch of people calling me with my number on the air. I wasn't I have somebody for security from the Children's Crusade downstairs that was calling me, so I wasn't able to watch the show because I didn't want it to echo when I called in. But anyway, my case ties back to Broward, to that Dr. John Wright, who was stamping papers to have children taken.
Okay.
So that is, who knows why she's bothering me from Broward. You know, it all seems to be connecting.
It is.
So how are you doing?
How am I doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm having the time of my life because, see, I've got, I want to be logical and truthful. On Monday, the 22nd of July of this year, 2019, Donald Trump and his wife, Melania, had the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force drive Timothy Charles Homeseth to meet me at a common place to tape a radio show. And I'm going to say this just to show that I've got good recall of details.
Just to make sure people are clear on that, this crazy dude is claiming that President Donald Trump and the First Lady Melania are driving to meet him in secret and do a radio show thing with him that was never broadcasted anywhere. Just to make sure everybody's clear on that.
But at 11:10 in the morning on Monday, the 22nd of July of 2019, I stepped out of the shower because my wife, Denise, had told me 10 minutes earlier, "You're not going to go do a radio show looking like that, are you?" Hey, somebody's walking in. This is hilarious. Come on in, but the camera's on.
Oh, okay. Now, let's see. I
Come
thought
in,
this
but the
was
camera's
video.
on, whoever you are.
I didn't watch this video again before I came on. I believe this is Ryan Wilson. This is who is believed to actually be the Ryan from Cynthia's arrest affidavit.
Okay, well, hang on. I'll come. Hang on, Cindy.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure this is Ryan Wilson.
No. Hang on, Cindy.
If it's not this video, it's one of the other ones.
I've got. You're gonna love this. I'm talking to her right now. Cindy, I apologize. I've got a very distinguished house guest in the office. I will be back in 30 seconds, and if Denise sees this, there.
Take your time.
I know we're hitting on all cylinders.
Just leaving her on to go wander around his house. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, I'll try to terminate this. Oh, wait a minute. You know what else I'll do? I looked at this.
Alright, let's see if I
And the
let's see
only
if we
one
can
who would
skip
be able
this
to
just
guess.
a little.
To your team, and we've just been going nonstop.
And the only one who would be able to guess is my wife, and she's
Okay, so
asleep.
I guess he actually wasn't gone that long.
Okay,
Just-
Cindy, is there a possibility we could wrap this up in 15 or 20 minutes?
Yeah, I was just going to give a quick update.
Yeah, please do. Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
Okay. I honestly am so tired, like I'm sure everybody else is on the task force and with the Children's Crusade, and I want to say thank you to
Alright, let's point that out real quick. Cynthia Abcug believed that this Pentagon Pedophile Task Force created by President Trump for Field McConnell and Timothy Homeseth was real. So that right there kind of gives you an idea of where her mental stability was. And that, I think, even dates back to the child removal. A lot of people say, oh, you know, if you got your children taken too, you would do that. And the thing is no. Normal people, innocent parents that get their children taken don't spiral down into conspiracy theories and plan a armed kidnapping of their child. That just doesn't happen. That's not how that works at all. The fact that she was able to buy into this so easy, the fact that she went as far as, if her daughter, what her daughter claims is true, to plan an armed kidnapping of her son, I would say it's probably a safe bet that she may not have been that mentally stable at the time of the child's removal. It's just a guess there, not a professional opinion whatsoever, just kind of figures.
Your team, and we've just been going nonstop trying to take down this fraudulent justice center. I went in yesterday. They've had 2 secret hearings. If you got the update, they make the hearings at 6 a.m. in the morning prior to the justice center even opening. So, but I've been able to file quite a bit of things. I took I had a remonstrance prepared by someone on the Pentagon.
Fuck me, I forgot about that. Oh man. Okay, so she filed a remonstrance. This goes back to like the Kirk Pendergrass, Chris Hallett, E-Clause, and then also John Goddamn Gentry, which is no longer part of the E-Clause thing. He used to be part of the... well, I guess he was never part of E-Clause. He was part of Kirk's Law Corner, this little social media, Facebook-based, YouTube-based thing where this Kirk Pendergrass, Chris Hallett, and formerly John Goddamn Gentry give bullshit legal advice, basically. It's not pure sovereign. It's pretty fucking close to sovereign. It's kind of just like bounces back and forth across the edge of sovereign and someone that just doesn't understand the law. Like, that's really what it breaks down to with Kirk, Chris, and John Gentry. Is they've taught themselves all this time, and so they don't have anybody who understands the law to actually explain what they're learning, if that makes sense. So John Gentry found this remonstrance thing that it's from like 1843 or some shit. And he made this remonstrance that was going to take out the entire bar of, where is he? I believe he's in Tennessee. He was going to take down the entire bar, all the judges, all this other shit. And I was arguing with him for a while on my personal account. He even did a live with me on my personal account. And I looked at his remonstrance and it was completely ridiculous. Like, first off, his complaints were in Tennessee, but he didn't list anything from Tennessee. He was noting cases and actually articles on things that happened in Florida. So it really didn't make a lot of sense. It was very poorly put together. And just overall, you could tell this guy didn't have a fucking clue what he was doing. And I told him for a while, he literally did not understand what he was talking about. Turns out he went in front of the fucking Tennessee Senate and they were like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't understand the law. It was shortly after that he actually ended up blocking me, when it turned out that Tennessee lawmakers said the exact same thing me and several other people had told him for a couple months on my Facebook. You don't know what you're talking about. So again, this goes back to just looking at the person Cynthia was up to this point, because in all honesty, I really don't feel that it's fair that QAnon is getting dragged into this as much as they should be. Don't get me wrong, QAnon, I've been in a lot of groups, they've got some really crazy shit going on out there. They've got some really, really crazy shit with the QAnon group. But not all of them are that crazy. A lot of them really are just looking for different information. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if what happened here was Field and Timothy and them aren't why QAnon's taking the main brass of this hit from media and from everything else. I don't know for sure that Field and Timothy and Kirk and all of them are necessarily QAnon. I'm sure they believe in a lot of the shit that they do. I'm sure they believe in a lot of the sovereign shit. They're definitely wrapped in that whole ball, but this really just seems like a woman that was mentally ill before the children were taken, and after that it just got worse. And like everything said, was she got into these conspiracies and it just went too far. So let's just go ahead, and we're almost done with this video, actually.
State level, and when I took it in there, you know, and remember, Field, I'm just a mom. I'm 134 days into my son being illegally seized, and God only knows what else. So I'm holding it together pretty good, but tired. And when I went with the person who's with me from the Children's Crusade, who's staying with me, down to the state capitol to try to file the remonstrance with, which is basically the complaint that this county level's not doing what they're doing, to see if there's any oversight at all. The Parliament, the legislature, the Senate, nobody would touch it, and they were all calling in legal counsel. And honestly, every single one of them looked like they probably had some stains in their pants after they read it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm happy, and I just told, I'm going to try to, stay with me. I'm doing technical stuff that I'm not good at. But somebody, are you still with me, Cindy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, hang on. I'm trying to boost your volume, and I believe I will be. This is funny. No. It's not you. I'll boost it. Okay. I've got Bluetooth coming on.
You'd think President Trump would give him some better shit.
If it'll work. I'm not good at this, and I am. Some of Kim Picassio's morons are trying to distract me, but they can't distract me.
they're not going to win in Jesus' name.
No, they know they're not going to win.
Well, since my number was evidently announced, I've gotten several restricted calls to my number.
I've got a solution for that. If you want to go to the phone store tomorrow and get a new phone number assigned, I will happily pay for whatever that might cost. And your house guest, who has a New Orleans accent, he knows if I say I'll do it, I'll do it.
Well, what I was thinking, thank you. I'll talk to Sarah about that and see what we're gonna do. I'll talk to a couple of other people. I'm working probably with about 10 different people that I'm talking to, but I appreciate that, because I don't know if it's that lady from Florida or any of her people calling now. I went off of Twitter and just only did a couple of updates on Twitter because, you know, I wanted people to tune into your show. And we have the remonstrance going. I'm trying to catch it in. I know you said 15 minutes. The remonstrance. So then it went back. What was interesting was
Go ahead.
I had somebody with me as a witness, and then I had another person on speakerphone who is from the Pentagon Task Force, who was explaining in detail what this remonstrance was and what the obligation of the state capitol's departments were to take this remonstrance, and nobody did. So that was proof that even though my son was illegally seized here 134 days ago, and they're you know, a lot of coincidental obstacles were coming in my way. You know, freezing money in accounts, there's quite a bit, my brakes yesterday. There's a lot of things going on here too to put obstacles. So now what we're doing is that person is sending it to the people they need to send it to have them look over what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's talking about John Gentry there, and having them talk about the remonstrance. I agree with Randy there in the comments. And again, just to keep a reminder, this is the woman that in the same breath is saying that her son was illegally taken, is also saying that she believes in this fictional Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and is actually having them do legal stuff for her, because that sounds like a brilliant idea.
I understand.
I mean,
Yep, I understand.
yeah, so that's what's happening. And then they're coming at me. They brought in a special prosecutor. There's some new players that came in yesterday. I defended myself. I think I did pretty well, because in the courtroom, I don't present myself the way they're trying to say that I am. A lunatic, mind-controlling, crazy mom.
Yep.
I'm very well prepared, well dressed. I have all my documents. I'm just a mom trying to get her kid back from the claws of this agency that has illegally seized him and now filed a restraining order because I'm insisting they investigate the sex abuse on his sphincter. And it's, that's their...
Which again, that goes back to why Field calls him Sphincter Boy, which for some reason Cynthia's okay with Field calling her possibly sexually abused son Sphincter Boy, but whatever.
Tactic is to now file a restraining order against me. So that's where I'm at. And then we've got,
let me go
more
ahead and
strategies to go. We're working with the task force on what our strategies are, but I feel in a much better spot, just a lot of action, a lot of action. So the way they're trying to say that I am, a lunatic, mind-controlling, crazy mom.
Yep.
I'm very well prepared, well dressed. I have all my documents. I'm just,
This part's actually pretty important.
A lot of coincidental obstacles are coming in my way. Freezing money in accounts. There's quite a bit, my brakes yesterday. There's a lot of things going on here too to put obstacles. So now what we're doing is that person is sending it to the people they need to send it to have them look over what's going on here.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yep, I understand.
Yeah, so that's what's happening. And then they're coming at me. They brought in a special prosecutor. There's some new players that came in yesterday. I defended myself. I think I did pretty well, because in the courtroom, I don't present myself the way they're trying to say that I am. A lunatic, mind-controlling, crazy mom.
Yep.
I'm very well prepared, well dressed. I have all my documents. I'm just a mom trying to get her kid back from the claws of this agency that has illegally seized him and now filed a restraining order because I'm insisting they investigate the sex abuse on his sphincter. And it's that's their tactic, is to now file a restraining order against me.
Okay, so in this, Cynthia 100% is saying that they're alleging her to be a lunatic, mind-controlling, and then she goes on to say that they had to actually get a restraining order against her. This is because it's said that she basically made up that the foster family was sexually abusing her son and didn't have the evidence to back that. So she got obsessed with that idea at the same time as getting obsessed with these different conspiracies that were going on. And so this, yeah, like again, anybody that's trying to defend her and just throw Q under the bus and everything like that, not defending Q all the way, but I am saying that this woman clearly had some issues, and she was tied up with people that had issues. I mean, this isn't really something that's debatable. You can hear her on with this guy who is currently in jail for threatening a random attorney in Florida who claims that he talks to the president personally, and Cynthia 100% believed that and put her case in these people's hands. So this is not a situation of Cynthia being this poor innocent mother, had all of her shit together, was doing what she needed to do. Not the case. She was tied up with these lunatics, and according to her daughter, planning to do an armed kidnapping of her son.
So that's where I'm at. And then we've got, more strategies to go. We're working with the task force on what our strategies are, but I feel in a much better spot, just a lot of action, a lot.
FYI, that's Kim Picasio, the attorney they've been harassing forever. Let's see, right there, the blue, her little face on there, that's Kim Picasio. Just one of the pictures, just another little taunt from Field before he went to jail, up to the point of him going to jail. They couldn't even say her name anymore. In fact, like Pastor Dan, that I did a video on and an article, and Timothy and all, and they refer to her as KP because legally they can't even say her name anymore. But yeah, so there's just one of the many jabs that they would take at this random attorney in Florida.
A lot of action. I think from what I'm being told, my son's case is full of so many blatant violations of felony treason violations that there's just too many to even count, that they're
Felony
going
treason
to,
violations.
His case is going to be able to help quite a bit of other children. So thank you guys for coming in and picking up my case, and standing behind me and my family. It's going to...
And pay attention that just now she thanked Field McConnell, she thanked you guys for coming in and taking my case. Thank you guys for coming in and taking my case. That is literally what she just said to the raving lunatic that's currently in jail that believes he's friends with Donald Trump.
Going to help a lot of children.
Well, thank you for that nice endorsement, and we will try to make sure that we earn the kind adjectives you just used about the Children's Crusade. And for these morons in Colorado and Florida and 48 states, there's 50 states, and there's mindless morons in all of them, generally working for the state government or the Department of Justice or Child Protective Services. But one thing that those morons are not aware of at this point, they're engaging in capital felony treason, or is that felony capital treason? I'll find out. I've got two attorneys over in the other room. But what they're doing, even though they think they're just picking on a good mother and a kind child that bakes cakes for Jesus, they think they're just raining on your parade. But no, they're invoking the return volley from all the Marines that are assembled. And a lady Marine just checked into the chat room. And so now there's two Marines on this project just within this chat room right now. But someone named Onumoko, and notice for the record, I didn't use the initials Sierra Lima. Onumoko said you should get the Marines engaged, and I replied to him in the chat room, the Marines are engaged. And when I said the Marines are engaged, I was referring to a person who you have talked to, and another person who's working, and I'll give the initials, KP.
Talking about the Marines that are working on this, and then he says to Cynthia, she goes by both, one of the people that Cynthia's talked to. So, I mean, this lady was tied up with some lunatics. I mean, she's probably dead to rights on her case. This is also a good warning, and this goes from anything from Fran to David Jose to Kirk Pendergrass to Chris Howlett to Field McConnell to Timothy Homseth. Like we've been saying for a year now, listening to these guys and getting wrapped up in this crazy shit is going to get you in trouble. Not to mention it can really do some damage, because let's admit, okay, innocent or guilty, as a parent, having your child taken away, yes, you're going to go through some pretty serious emotional and mental issues. To throw this kind of conspiracy, fictional, nonsensical law that means nothing into that sort of emotional and mental state can be dangerous. And then you can end up, like Cynthia Abcug, facing felony conspiracy to kidnap charges with your face all over national news as the first person to be arrested for a QAnon conspiracy since the FBI deemed them as possible domestic terrorists. Which, in just an FYI, I've said this before and I'll say it again, sovereign citizens are labeled as possible domestic terrorists. And that's been like that ever since the early 2000s, I believe it was, when a father and son who were going around doing a sovereign scan actually killed 2 police officers on the side of the highway. And then they were later killed in a Walmart parking lot after fleeing the scene of killing the 2 officers. So this is dangerous. It's more it's funny, we laugh at it because it's so fucking crazy, you can't help but laugh at it. But on the serious side, some people are not laughing at it and they're letting it get them serious charges. And Arlena Willis, we talked about her multiple times. Recently she did that video. That's another one who, regardless of what she claims Fran and David and all these nonsensical sovereign law people did for her, what they didn't, how they guided her, how they didn't, the fact of the matter is their advice, she was their golden child, and she used advice. She fucked her case up. She has filed completely frivolous court filings, completely frivolous, that make her look crazy as shit. Those are on record. You can look up those court files. In fact, if you look at the articles I've done on her, you can see those articles. They're nonsensical filings. They mean nothing. That comes back to bite you in the ass. If you think that your caseworker is not going to see all of these crazy ass conspiracy ramblings that you're filing into a court, you're out of your damn mind. You know, this stuff is serious. So all I can really do is just urge people, especially if you're a Field or a Timothy or a David Straight or David Jose, like, for the love of God, just have them show you one thing, just one court document that shows where their crazy nonsense has actually worked. And I'm not talking about getting out of a speeding ticket or some shit like that. I'm talking about a serious case where their nonsensical approach, or however they want to explain it, where it actually worked. Have them show you one court document. That's all you need to see. It's just one court document. You won't see it. I promise you, you won't see it. It is what it is. This is garbage. This isn't even word salad. It's word garbage.
P and CH, and KPCH and TCH and FM are all working, you know, because we've been asked by President and Mrs. Trump to engage these people and expose them. And I haven't been quoting much scripture today, but if anybody wants to take a look at 2 critical pieces of scripture that touch on Cindy's case, one of them is rather bland. It's Ephesians 5:11, have nothing to do with the evil deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. And the other one is Matthew 18:5 and 6, and I think I'm going to get this close. I'm tired too, just like you are. And I get
praying for you. I'll be praying for you for sure.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. is I will send a brief email to the lady Marine who just checked in and make sure she has my phone number. And if she wants to call in when you hang up, then she can call in and pray, and that'll close our show for today. And we'll have Brian Simonetti on tonight if he and Gordon in Australia are available, and I'll work that over email. But right now, as you got about 3 minutes, and I hate to put pressure on you. If you want,
okay. I have one. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And then I have one, Psalm 68, 5 and 6. God is a father to the fatherless. A defender of the widows is God in his holy dwelling. God sets the lonely in families. He leads out the prisoners with singing, but the rebellious will live in a sun-scorched land.
well, thank you for those scriptures. And someone in Scotland just put up Matthew 18:5 and 6. And whosoever receives one such child as your son, Cindy, in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him, or her, in the case of Kim Picasio, it would be better for her to have a heavy millstone hung around her neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. Now, the United States Marines use the word Marine because...
In case you missed that, that's one of the many times that Field McConnell suggested that Kim Picasio, again, this random attorney from Florida that Timothy Homseth randomly claimed kidnapped this child, Haley Cummings. That's one of the many times Field McConnell threatened or said that he hoped Kim Picasio died in some sort of way, and that goes back to why Field is now in jail. So, and also why Timothy Homseth is on the run right now and going to go to jail.
That's what they do. They are deployed on the sea to kick ass on the land. And so you got a lot of Marines backing you one way or the other, and I hope that the lady Marine can call me in 2 minutes and say a prayer for you, your son, and all the mothers, all the fathers, and all the children that are living separated because of my sister, Christine Marcy, Hillary Clinton, Wayanne, that's W-A-Y-A-N-N-E, and Kim L. Picasio. These people are involved in treason against families, and
Field believes his sister is one of the people that's also like into all this shit.
They don't know that they've already fallen. They're just waiting to get the news.
Yeah.
And the news.
Well, I went up to the county prosecutor. He's a real. Never mind. I went up to his, and asked him if I could ask him a personal question.
Yep.
And I said to him, let me ask you a question, John. Do you call your bottom a sphincter? And he grinned and he said, I have a lot of sphincters. And I said, you really want to go there? And then when I told him I was about John Esper Wright, which he knows about him, the doctor who's rubber stamped, I've never met him, from Broward, who rubber stamped my fake diagnosis of Munch-Proxy syndrome in order for them to seize my child. He laughed in my face. He laughed.
Which, FYI, Cynthia was, I don't know if I said that earlier, but Cynthia is said to be a Munchausen by proxy case. Now it's known as, was it fictitious disease impaired on another, I believe, FDIA, don't quote me on that. But Munchausen by proxy, much like the Melissa Deagle case in Arizona. Again, that's another one where these parents have been completely championed, and there's been all this completely ridiculous nonsense, like with Melissa Deagle in Arizona. They claim this research company actually stole her children because they had this super rare disease, which is very common with Munchausen, that normally these the I guess you could say aggressor in this situation will pick a disease that there's not a lot of research on, just so that doctors don't really know what they're doing, and they'll create those physical symptoms like constipation, blah blah blah, whatever. With Melissa Deagle, they claim that her children were taken for this research into this very rare disease. And the problem is, I actually talked to the company that's running that disease. It's a government-funded research. So, I mean, you can see where it is in its process. And I actually personally talked to the person leading up that study, and they haven't even gotten to begin that study yet because of the fact that they haven't found people to go in. They don't have any sort of connection to this hospital. They're not taking kids from Phoenix Children's Hospital and feeding them straight into this research program. It's all nonsense, but it's also very much similar that people believe in this field thing, this craziness going on over here, and Cynthia, and it's a fake Munchausen. Same thing with Melissa. It's actually, they're taking the kids to put them in this research program, even though they're not listed in that research program and they've never been in it. I mean, it's nonsense, but it's all the same. And just a side note, with Fran and David, their human trafficking task force, because they started talking about the whole, President Trump made this whole human trafficking task force, same as the whole field. I believe they're actually even referring to the same thing. But as far as the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, which I do believe is the same thing David Jose is talking about, because he's referenced Kirk and them and their agency that they're doing, all of that came from Timothy Homseth. Like David Jose, Francesca Amato, Kirk Pendergrass, Chris Hallett, Field McConnell, every single one of them are lying about being in this child-saving task force that Trump personally put together. If you look online for it, you'll notice all of the origins for it go back to Timothy Homseth and his websites. There is no other. Kim, that's actually not true. You can look on the Facebook page about Melissa Deagle's case. One of their original claims from the very beginning, I did a very long article on this, was that Melissa Deagle's children were taken for research because of their very rare gastro disease. Like, that's been one of the longest going claims. Melissa has said it herself. They said that she was taken for this research because their diseases were so rare, and there was two of them, which is actually the exact opposite of the truth. It turns out, with the disease that, I forget what disease Melissa named, but it turns out it's actually the exact opposite. Melissa claimed that both sisters having this disease was super rare. That's why they wanted them in this study. Not true. It actually turns out that this disease, how it works, it's a genetic type thing. For one sister to get it means most likely the other kids are going to have it as well. That is just the reality of it. So that was a very much made claim. One of the oldest dating claims when it comes to Melissa Deagle's situation is that they were taken for this research study, which again is not true. Kim, you might want to look through her support page and whatnot, because it was said a lot more clearly than just speculation. It was said verbatim. They were taken for that. And I believe if you even look at the medical kidnap articles on it, it actually says verbatim that her kids were taken for this study. So yeah, I would just Google search medical kidnap Melissa Deagle and look at the first article or two. I believe that's actually where I found that claim, and then actually went and found the company behind the study. So that is what it is. I understand that you spoke to her personally, but I'm just telling you the page that she endorsed that was talking about her case on Facebook made that claim. That was her page. Her page is still, it's a page that's still used. It's the prayer for two sisters, or whatever that page is. That's the one that made that initial claim. And Nathan also brings up a very valid point. I spoke to a psychopath personally, and she said everyone else is lying. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what it boils down to. Melissa had some pretty crazy beliefs, just like Cynthia here. So, I mean, that just, I get it. Like, you want these people to be innocent, you believe in these people, and especially after you believe in them for a while, it's not fun to find out that they could be lying to you, they could actually be the bad guy. It makes you question your own judgment, and that sucks. It sucks to be wrong. Nobody likes to be wrong. It just is what it is. But it's better to find out that you were wrong and get off that shit before you drown in it like the Titanic. I mean, there's no harm in being wrong. A lot of these people are good at what they do. If you're not educated, I mean, that's one thing. Like Kirk Pendergrass, I'll give him a tip of the hat, because that piece of shit can memorize Black's Law in and out. He completely doesn't understand what he's memorizing, and then he confuses it and twists it into what he wants it to be like. And if you don't know about the law at all, it sounds fucking great. I mean, he's just repeating words, he's repeating sentences, and he's pointing at other case law, and this is why this means that, and that's why this means that, and all of this shit. It's impressive. Kirk is one of the better of the sovereigns of just being able to recite that garbage. Like, David Jose sounds like a fucking moron half the time. David Straight's also very good at reciting it. Fran sounds like a fucking moron. Field and Timothy just kind of babble, and for some reason people believe it. But man, Kirk, he's one of the better ones that really, he'll just spit out laws that mean nothing. It's the only gift that he has. If he actually took the time to go to law school and have somebody over him to teach him what he's learning and make sure he's understanding it correctly, he'd be great. But unfortunately, he refuses to do that. And instead, he's going down this weird path where now you have people getting arrested, and QAnon, and kidnapping, and people on the run, people in jail. Like, this is just a whole fucking mess. Like a whole damn mess. Remind you, this is supposed to be like people fighting for freedoms and fighting for child rights. And like right now, they literally you have Arlena Willis waiting to go to jail for serious abuse charges. You got Melissa Deagle with Munchausen, which, remind you, with Melissa's, the state's main evidence, which I can't stress this enough with the Melissa Deagle situation. The claims were that she put in an unnecessary feeding tube years ago in her children because of her Munchausen. They said that they're no longer in wheelchairs. That's not one of her charges. A few different medical surgeries were actually the charges. But the state is going to have to show that years later the children don't need those feeding tubes still. Like, they can't make that up. And it's still too soon to tell if her daughters are actually going to be testifying. There is a half chance still that her daughters actually press charges against her mother, or their mother. They're definitely the two victims named, and how the current court documentation reads, the paperwork and arrest affidavit and all that right now, I would not be surprised if they actually do testify against her in criminal court. Which some people have went as far as to say they're only doing that because they brainwash her daughters, and that they're scared that Melissa's going to take down the entire Arizona CPS and all this other shit. But again, at the end of the day, the state is going to have to prove their claim. I mean, Kim, that's in the court document. Not sure what you're asking about on that, but the state's claim, what Sarasota County, Arizona is claiming, is that she gave the daughters unnecessary medical procedures, which included a feeding tube. I believe she has a total of like somewhere between 7 and 14 charges all around. I haven't read her arrest affidavit for a while, but she has a list of different medical procedures that she basically causes symptoms for. Like with her, what the allegations are is that she constipated them. And that was one of the big things of why they were going in and doing these operations. She was ordering medications that caused constipation. She was feeding them constipating foods, constipating liquids. So she was causing this constipation that caused the physical symptoms for the doctors to go in and try and treat those physical symptoms. And so again, at the end of the day, the state is going to have to show that these girls don't need feeding tubes and these other medical procedures. That's not something that they could fake. It's not like they're taking the feeding tube out of the kids right before court, having them run in and testify, then going to go put the feeding tubes back in. It doesn't work like that. Not to mention, if you go back and read through Melissa's actual, the situation of her losing her children, the last court dates, she was acting very erratic in the courtroom, and she actually ended up not showing up to the end of her termination. And with her, another weird thing, if you read through those documents, is that the court was actually trying to give her chances. They were giving her a lot of chances. And she stopped going. She stopped cooperating with the court during the termination hearings. So this isn't like something new. Once again, this is a parent that has, even during the custody issues, showing some real warning signs. And then since then, there's been the different conspiracies. They've even entered documents on her behalf. What was it? One of her advocates entered a document saying that she was going to be killed in prison because they were afraid she was going to expose the secret handshake club, which are these guys that drive around with large amounts of cash and shake hands and give people money. I mean, her case, if you look at everybody that represented her, including herself, over the years since her arrest, it's the same as all these others with different conspiracies. Like 100%. It just is what it is. And that's the same sort of thing that we're seeing with Cynthia here. It's clear that there was some mental issues here. There was mental issues here before her child got taken. You don't just all of a sudden start thinking it's a good idea to kidnap your child, an armed kidnapping with different conspiracy people, and because you think Satanists are eating babies and so you need to do an armed kidnapping of your child. That does not come from a normal mind. Grieving is hard, denial's hard, all of that. It's, you know, I mean, it just, it is what it is. Well, and you know, that's one thing too. People do want to believe these mothers and these parents, but the problem is, to go into this situation, or to go into Cynthia's or Melissa Deagle's, to go into that situation 100% claiming that these parents are the innocent ones, you are 100% neglecting to accept the fact that the children might actually be victims. You are 100% pushing out the possibility that Melissa's children were victims of medical procedures they did not need. You're calling them the liars. Instead of going in with an open, okay, this might have happened. If you're going in saying, no, she was innocent, you're 100% possibly advocating for child abuse. I mean, you do realize going in with a one-sided defending these people, if she's found guilty, if the state fucking goes forward with court and her two daughters get on the stand and say, we're completely fine, this is what all she did to us, you literally just advocated for a child abuser. That's the same thing with these people just blindly supporting Cynthia, like James White with the Northwest Liberty news thing, which he's just a fucking moron. He right now, because this and Cynthia's situation is completely different than Melissa's. With Cynthia's situation, her daughter came forward after months of this shit, and she was actually telling her counselor for weeks. Like, one of the things I heard James try and claim was that they had the daughter alone and they got her to say all this shit. They coaxed it out. Not how it happened at all. Not one bit. According to the arrest affidavit that I still don't think James ever showed, but it's in one of those articles in the description. The daughter was telling this to her counselor for weeks before they got any other kind of agency involved. They made sure this was true. They made sure that her story wasn't changing, which her story never did. They made sure that they should call the proper agencies. They did. Once again, once the agencies were called in, the daughter's story did not change. It was noted that the daughter normally defended Cynthia. She was an avid defender of Cynthia. She loved her mother, but she was worried that they were going to harm this foster family during the kidnapping. She didn't know what kind of violence, but she was worried that this was going to be a violent ordeal and that people could have even lost their lives. So with backing Cynthia, another thing, Cynthia's daughter that came forward to the police also told them that she had been turning abusive towards her as she was getting deeper into these conspiracies. So with Cynthia, if you are backing her at this moment, you are 100% forgetting about her child, who is openly saying that she was being abusive towards her and she was getting into this conspiracy stuff and she was planning an armed kidnapping. You're ignoring that daughter that was the victim of Cynthia's mental issues. So, I mean, that's something that really needs to be taken into consideration when you think about this stuff. Because this is a completely different situation. No, the kidnapping did not happen. The kidnapping, that's why she's charged with conspiracy to commit kidnapping. It's not kidnapping that she's charged with. Pretty much, Taylor just summed it up pretty good. So, we come out and say that the mother is innocent without proof or willing to provide proof. Then you are saying that the kids are lying. And that's definitely what is going on here. Like, you're definitely ignoring Cynthia's child if you're just completely ignoring this arrest affidavit and everything else that went into this. Because it sounds like this was a very potentially dangerous situation. Plain and simple. She was armed. She did have armed people associated with Field McConnell staying at their house. That Brian stayed on the house for at least a week or two before the law enforcement got involved, according to the daughter, and he wasn't even the first stranger from the internet to show up and be one of their armed guards. So, I mean, this was a serious, volatile situation. You're talking about possible kidnapping, you're talking about a young teenage daughter exposed to these strange men that are from these different conspiracies, sovereign, QAnon, whatever category ball of horse shit you want to call it. But these random guys that her mom doesn't even know, aside from these internet conspiracy groups, it's staying on their house or staying on their couch with guns. I mean, this is a bad situation. This is a really bad situation. This is something that can go volatile really, really fast. So I don't know if we're going to listen to the prayer, but I believe Cynthia is wrapping up.
Laughed at me right in my face. I said, okay, go ahead and laugh. God doesn't like what you're doing. Go ahead and laugh. My daughter can still see my son 1 hour a week. I've only seen him 3 times still in 134 days. And when she saw him last week, he gave her a little crumb of his brownie
Now, hold on, no, because before, and see, Kim, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you right now, you're going against what the daughter is claiming, and you're not just going against what the daughter is claiming. There's actually video with Field. Field actually says that was sending his people there. He sent his people there. He actually said that he sent Ryan there with Field's gun and Field's car. So, I mean, Field is on video saying that he sent someone with a gun to Cynthia's house. Again, it was noted that the daughter is normally a defender of Cynthia. But again, though, Field literally has said this shit on video. You're listening to her talking to Field right now, who's believed to be the person to help her plan this. Yes, Field says he talks to the President of the United States, and Cynthia talks to Field. Cynthia plans stuff with Field. Cynthia let Field send people to her house. I mean, this isn't, you can't believe anything he says. They're talking right here. And this isn't the only video that Field has that has to do with Cynthia. There's multiple videos about this. So, I mean, this is not like it's a just one-time thing Cynthia randomly popped on. There's multiple videos of Field basically admitting, I mean, as close as you can get to saying, we are going to go kidnap this child. It's out there, you know, and this is, here, you know, even let me scroll down, glow_free on BitChute. You can go there and you can watch the other Field McConnell, Cynthia videos, because that's, again, this is getting way past the point of like a debate. There's some pretty hardcore evidence out there. That's just, I mean,
Chad, can you give this to Mom? Because I really miss her. Make sure Mom gets to see the sneaker. He was trying to connect with me. These people are causing a very traumatic emotional harm to him, and he doesn't know why he can't see me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can hear your voice breaking, and I would encourage you to call in, and you can always communicate through the lady in Little Rock. But if it's okay with you, I'd like to sign off with you, but I'd like you to listen to the radio show if you're listening, because a lady Marine, and yes, there are ladies in the Marine Corps.
Good. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
let's hang up so you can keep doing what you're doing. It's getting a little bit, just ask for prayers on this end over here for protection.
Yes.
And we're starting to feel it over here because evidently we're hitting some sore spots that these people in Colorado at all levels don't like. So I want to say thank you, God bless you, and I will let you get on with your Marine.
Okay, and her name is, I just sent you, in fact, I'm talking to two ladies at once. The lady who's the Marine, her first name is Jody. I believe you know who she is. And she does have my phone number because I just sent it to her via email. So I'll say goodbye and God bless you. And regarding protection, you've got the promises of Isaiah 54:17 and Psalm 91:11 to review as you end your day in the company of a person from Arkansas. And I've got the incoming call right now, so I'm going to go to it. Bye-bye and God bless. Okay, hang on. I've got... you've got the radio playing, Jody, but if you want to turn your radio volume down and pray for that lady, I'd sure appreciate it. And if you'd like me to follow you in prayer, or if you want me to pray first and you can go second, lady's choice.
I can go first.
Okay, please do.
All right. Father God, we just come before you first to glorify your name and glorify Bill's family.
Yeah, okay. So that is basically all of that video right there. Field, I mean, man, this, again, this shit is hard to explain. It honestly is, because this shit is crazy. Anybody that's listening to these guys, like, regardless of what you want to believe, I mean, Cynthia believed this at the time that the police say this. Things Field said online were the same as what Cynthia's daughter claimed. Clearly, Cynthia was believing delusions that are conspiracy based from Kirk Pendergrass, Chris Howlett, Field McConnell, Timothy Homseth, Francesca Amato, David Jose Watson, just to use the whole name. All of them have pushed the same conspiracy. All of them have, and it's fake. So this is how bad it can go. But the fact of the matter is that you had this woman who is now charged with conspiracy to kidnap, who very obviously was believing this. There's not a whole lot of debating. Are the kidnapping charges trumped up? Possibly, given the fact that you're talking about Field, Kirk Pendergrass, all the trouble that they just got Field and Timothy into. I would say law enforcement probably have a pretty solid case here. It's not like Cynthia's case is super rare and normally these guys get everybody out of trouble. Like, you're talking about Arlena Willis is looking at jail time. I don't even know what's happened with some of their other failures, because the fact of the matter is they don't talk about them. They keep them very quiet. And that's why all of these guys talk about their victories, but it's always just some random victory. It's just a victory. We don't actually go into detail on who the victory is, but there's victories. It's happening every day. Every day we're getting them. This is how we're getting them. This crazy shit where you turn in these stuff and the court not responding is how you know that you got them. That's not true. Like, they're not responding because you're not putting anything legal in. It's not because you caught them in a lie. It's because you literally didn't make sense in what you filed. That's why they started referring to that shit as paper terrorism. They're not responding to these nonsensical claims for that very reason, because they are nonsense. There is no response. How can you respond to somebody speaking gibberish? So, you know, this is important, and really this Cynthia Abcug case, it's important too, and that's why we're going to keep on playing with this stuff. Cynthia, I imagine I'll probably do an article. Again, I just wanted to do this live and make sure that this video was saved, at least the important parts, because of the fact of the Field McConnell people getting this video removed and then removing it from Field's channel for probably pretty obvious reasons. I imagine with Field already being in jail for threatening a random attorney in Florida, the last thing they want is to have this video out where he's talking about that attorney with Cynthia, who's now charged with felony conspiracy to commit kidnapping. I have seen that Arlena has court tomorrow. I did see that she was on James White's show earlier. Again, James White is with the Northwest Liberty News. I saw him talking about how, like, we don't need driver's license. He's a sovereign moron. But yeah, that's where everything is right now with Cynthia. Cynthia, nothing's really moved forward. She is out of jail. I believe her court appearance is like on the 15th or the 16th of this month. I believe it's one of those days. Don't quote me on that. But that is going to do it for tonight, because again, there's some really, really bad stuff happening at Parchman Jail, which actually I'll probably do a live on Parchman and all these different videos that have come out. There's videos of guards popping locks to let other inmates go in and kill rival gang members. a guard that completely disabled her social media. She was charged or accused of being one of the gang members that was allowing this shit. Fires people in this Unit 32, which is a condemned unit by the courts from a huge lawsuit like 10 years ago. And if you look up Parchman, you can find these different videos, pictures, all this stuff that's coming out of how life is behind those jail cells. So, yeah, be sure and remember in the descriptions, you got articles backing up all this. You got YouTube, which will have the last video. Again, go subscribe to the YouTube channel if YouTube's your thing, because soon I'll start streaming over to YouTube as well. Donation link there to help support these lives in the future, which again, thank you to anybody that helps keep stuff like this going, between bulbs and batteries and all that stuff. There's always some sort of cost. And even right now, like with there's still a lot as this studio comes together, because I am in this new space. And then also, aside from Cynthia, there's one other article in there that's about QAnon being described as a possible domestic terrorist group by the FBI last May. So, Parchman jail. Or even Parchman, Mississippi prison. There you go. Taylor, I just put that in the comments for you. So yeah, that should do it. I will actually have like a solid video article thing going out, I believe, tomorrow on Unit 32 from Parchman, which is one of the more serious parts of what's going on out there. And then maybe tomorrow night I will do that I'll do a live on Parchman. We'll see if we can do that. Because there is a whole bunch of different issues. I'm just starting with this one area of it. So I thank everybody for watching.